What is up, guys, and welcome here to the ESL Major League Americas. I'm Solid Jake.
And I'm Kubi.
And today is the final day of the group stage.
That's right. Week 7. Finally made it. We are all the way to the end of the group stage of ESL NA Major League. How exciting.
Yeah, so today the matches are going to be intense. We do have two really big matches. We can actually take a quick look at those. And starting it off, we do have Lunatik versus Tempo Storm. Now, Tempo Storm currently sitting in that third place position. If they take this match, they can potentially finish at second.
Yes, and it will absolutely depend on the results of match number 2, which is slated to begin at 10 p.m. Eastern Time between Barrel Boys and 2ARC Iliad. And the reason that it is dependent on that, Jake, if you would be so kind as to swap over to the standings. Oh, there it is. Barrel Boys and 2ARC are finding themselves at the top. Tempo Storm just behind. So, like you mentioned, if Tempo Storm 2-0s their victory and 2ARC Iliad happens to lose 0-2, I believe Tempo Storm will advance over 2ARC to have the second seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, it depends on the rulings. If it goes by games count, I think you're correct.
Yes.
Yeah, so, and I'm pretty sure that is the next
Yeah,
factor.
they don't end up tying. It has to do with, as I understand it, match percentage.
Okay.
Win rate, loss, etc. So if it went to a head-to-head, 2ARC did defeat Tempo Storm.
Right, but that would be the
play.
third variable.
Right, that would be the third tiebreaker.
If they had tied in the second category, which...
Yep.
So there's a lot on the line in terms of seeding. Now, Lunatic will be placing in 7th, no matter how you look at it. That is, but they are playing for honor today.
For pride? For
pride.
experience?
For pride, yeah.
It's you can't shake a stick at that. Yeah, it's good, especially if the team's looking to start to play in more LAN events moving forward. That's a big deal. Having that type of experience, any type of tournament competitive experience is always going to be beneficial. You're playing for a crowd, you're playing with us casters talking about you. So
analyzing your beautiful
right.
games.
That's right.
Now, we're in the lobby. We've got all 10 members in there.
We do.
I see a lot of murky portraits. In honor of Murky Week?
It is. It has to be in honor of Murky Week. Also, we were just talking about Ivy Slime. He's got to be the greatest Murky fan of all time because of his name, right?
Ivy Slime? He has to be. Right.
He's got Slime in the name.
Slime. That's what he does.
That's what
he
does.
Murkies.
Right.
He wakes up. He plays Murky.
Pops out of his egg.
his bed.
Nicely placed on his bed.
Just an egg. I hope so.
Yeah. Couldn't hope for much more, honestly.
No.
All right. I see draft is almost ready.
Yeah.
Other thing to talk about is the other half of the results that could happen. Tempo Storm could win, Barrel Boys could win, and I don't think that actually changes anything. If that's...
You mean if 2ARC beats Barrel Boys?
No. We already talked about what happened. Did we?
You said if Tempo Storm wins, Barrel Boys wins. That means Tempo Storm gets second.
That is what we already talked about.
That is the first scenario.
If 2ARC wins...
If 2ARC wins, that creates an interesting situation where Barrel Boys and 2ARC will both be finishing with a 6-1 record.
Yes, they'll both be 6-1, and actually, is it dependent on the match score? I feel bad because me and Cia Steve are actually discussing this. I don't recall what their match score is. I want to say if 2ARC 2-0s them, they end up with a slightly better percentage, but if they 2-1 them,
they lose.
They might lose.
Or they tie. Cia Steve can hopefully inform you guys in the chat for anything that we're not completely clear on, but the draft has begun. The first map is Sky Temple, and the first pick, first ban going to Lunatic.
That's right. That's right. So that means that Tempo Storm had the leg up in picking the map. Lunatic Esports has probably won the coin flip, opted to go first pick, first ban, and they choose to go with Rhaegar to start.
Yeah, not a huge surprise there. Rhaegar is of course, very powerful hero. He can change the battlefield so much, and Lunatic is... They just don't want to deal with him. They don't want to have to worry about that threat of the potential Rhaegar Illidan.
Right.
This could mean that they are not going to pick up Illidan, but it could also mean that they are going to pick up Illidan. It could mean a lot of
Such
things.
insightfulness.
I know. As soon as I started talking, I was like, what am I saying?
Okay, I was about to talk a little bit about the support bans. I said Rhaegar still running very strong in the current meta, and we were actually talking about this last night on our show, Jake, Town Hall Heroes, about Uther falling off a little bit because there are some perspective nerfs maybe in the future for his ghost form. And we were talking with actually Glaurung from Tempo Storm who was on. He said, and seemed to be a concurrent opinion of the group on the show, Uther's fallen off a little bit.
He has, and it's just because the way the meta is shifting. He's becoming less used. He keeps getting nerfed. He's still very powerful and very formidable, but especially with that nerf on the horizon where his Ghost form now is only going to have a heal. You cannot cast Divine Storm. You cannot cast any of your normal abilities while in the Ghost form. And that's a sizable nerf, and who knows what other kind of balance changes we'll see next week. But Illidan, oh, there he is. I was talking about him. I knew we'd see him or we wouldn't see him. I just knew it.
You are just full. You are a wealth of knowledge tonight. How many statements can I make that don't actually say anything? Right, the Illidan was picked up first for Lunatik. Now, how do you feel about Illidan being grabbed here, where the likelihood of having double support and no Rhaegar to boot is it's very minimal?
Well, they can scoop up Tassadar if Tempo Storm does not do that. I'm really expecting Tempo Storm to grab up Tyrande or Tassadar, unless they go for ETC. But if they are able to grab ETC and Tassadar, it doesn't matter what the rest of their composition is. They're in a good position, because that is a terrifying start to a roster. And Tempo Storm is well aware of that, and they could snipe one of them. But no, they opt for Zagara. They're really prioritizing that power of the Maw, which can really just change fights.
Sure can. Do you think that grabbing Zagara so early is a smart idea? Or maybe they have something up their sleeves.
Zagara's started to pick up a ton of popularity, especially on Sky Temple. When you consider the fact that Hydras can just chase someone off a temple, they zone so well because the damage input is so high, and the response to a Hydra is typically get away from it.
This is true.
I like that pickup a lot, but still, it is kind of premature, Stevie.
Now, the general play style, of course, she's going to want to, you mentioned the Maw. Hitting multiple heroes in the Maw is a big deal, but it doesn't necessarily point towards one playstyle or the other. No. So, although it's an odd pick, do you feel as though it gives away their plan?
No, not at all.
So it's okay. Perhaps they shouldn't prioritize it so much over other heroes.
It's just the fact that Illidan has already been picked up, and Tassadar and ETC makes so much sense with him. I mean, we'll see what Lunatic ends up going for in this game, but those three, it's such a rock-solid start to a composition. Get it? And
he's taking Kev's place. He was unable to pun for an entire week. Jake, filling in. So you like ETC, not Diablo, the traditional.
I feel like
that's where we first saw the Illidan Diablo or combo takeoff.
Okay,
it's actually going to be neither of these. It's going to be Stitches.
Okay, that's very interesting. Obviously, they have something in mind. Now, Stitches does have Bile.
Yes.
Which is very strong. Zagara is a massive target and quite easy to hook. So that is definitely a potential factor here.
Also does not have the greatest amount of escapes.
True.
But I can't think that they're picking Stitches just to deal with Zagara.
Maybe they're playing around what Tempo Storm's trying to do. So they see, okay.
I was about to suggest around it.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So this kind of limits Tempo Storm's options. Tempo Storm will pick up Tassadar, and I almost want to say Brightwing.
Yeah, there's not a lot of healing left on the board. Of course, Brightwing and Mouth are the two that make the most sense. Probably each team will have some kind of off-healer. Tyrande in this case for Lunatic, and very likely Tassadar. They just need those healing wards that are just so prevalent in the current meta, in the current state of play. I think Tassadar and Brightwing or Malf. I think I'd be okay with either of those.
I just like Brightwing for global presence on this map. They also don't necessarily need to grab Brightwing right away. They could definitely favor something like ETC, who also has that global presence, and then just kind of leave their support for last, because I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make at the end of the day. But I'm just surprised Tassadar hasn't been picked up yet, because he's so solid, and seeing that Lunatic already has Tyrande, you probably don't want to give him over.
Now, is there any value in Tempo Storm locking out options for Lunatic moving forward? Well, Lunatic still needs to secure probably one more support.
I mean, they're looking, this is very pick compy. And a lot of things would work with this. I mean, Jaina works great with their composition.
Sure.
Sergeant Hammer's still on the table, and we're talking Sky Temple. So Sergeant Hammer is never going to be bad. I feel like Lunatic's in a great spot in terms of like what they have for options, but there's the Tassadar pickup. By Tempo Storm.
And I guess the question is, do we see the warrior pick or do we see the support pick? Since Stitches is already grabbed, I think grabbing their choice of support makes the most sense. The question is ETC or Diablo?
Yeah. And they're going for Lily. So they don't care if they get ETC, Diablo, or Chen. That's what they're saying. Like, we actually do not care. Our composition will work with any of them. It's very flexible. They've got this triple range. They have a large amount of damage output and a good amount of just steady sustainability between the double healing ward, Lily, and Tassadar. But they don't have that burst sustain. And that's what we see on Lunatic so far, is that hook Lunar Flare with Hunter's Mark combo.
Yeah, so I think if they're going to pick up another assassin, it would make sense actually to not take Sergeant Hammer. I'd like to see Jaina.
Yeah, me too.
And we've actually even been seeing Falstad creeping into the meta.
He is so fun. I want to get him to 10. I've been playing a lot of Falstad.
Honestly, the Hintoan's Blast plus Hunter's Mark plus Overdrive plus 5 stacks of Gathering Power
Could ruin some kids.
could definitely ruin some kids.
And the mobility is so big in this map. And we talk about that global presence being such a big deal. And ETC still on the table.
Yeah. I think it's going to be Jaina, though.
But yeah, Jaina makes the most sense considering what we see. And there she is. And for their final pick, they're going to want some more support.
Probably Malf.
Malf makes a lot of sense considering Root. But
Right,
Polly,
makes sense. Also, yes,
yeah.
Polly to go along with the Hunter's Mark to get that extra, especially at level 16 with the Critterize, to get that extra damage output. Also, Emerald Wind, if they so choose, to go that path for
Emerald
the
Wind's
disengage.
huge on this map.
Right,
It really is.
It's nice on the map, and it's also good, just to isolate that member that gets hooked in from the rest of the team that's trying to follow up. I'd be okay with either of those picks. You're going to get more probably overall healing out of Malf. There we see that. Brightwing, I could have understood that pick too.
Yeah, but Malf makes a lot of sense. I mean, they just have so much lockdown. You've got the Roots, you've got the Slow, you've got the Lunar Flare. Illidan can just reign supreme in the front, and he's got the double support to keep himself alive. And then Stitches, we'll see if they end up going for a support style. I think they probably will, just considering the massive amount of damage output in ETC. No surprise there.
Tempo Storm has a very much a longer team fight set up.
Yep.
So I like them taking ETC in the sense that he has more utility on his base kit that's going to be able to use multiple times in a fight.
And he's got that ability to just soak across the other side of the map and stage dive in when he needs to. So if they can draw those fights out with just poking, they've got all this range. They can just poke, sell out the fight, and then ETC can soak that bottom lane, top lane, wherever he needs, and stage dive in at that crucial point in time.
Very, very good points. We'll let the... Oh, wow. Did you beat me to it? Did you let him know we're ready already?
No,
that was for draft. Oh, I thought you were just like... I was like, I didn't even see him touch the keyboard. How does he do this? How does he do this?
All right, guys. Well, game number 1 gonna be on Sky Temple. We're letting the players know that we are, in fact, ready. Hopefully you guys are ready at home. Hopefully you got your bag of chips, your salsa verde, a nice brew.
Green salsa?
Yeah, I don't know.
Salsa verde?
Salsa verde's a thing.
Verde.
Talking is also a thing.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay. So taking a look at these compositions, we had already mentioned the longer team fight that we can expect to see for Tempo Storm, and of course the pick style composition for Lunatic Esports. And how the positioning plays into effect, especially on Sky Temple, more or less we're going to be obviously looking for those hooks, but are they going to have some kind of strange positioning on the temples? How do they plan on, and is Tempo Storm almost going to go for a strict disengage style where they split up their efforts over the first 2 temples? So we'll have to kind of pay attention to that to see what the style is.
That's the fun thing about Sky Temple, is there's a lot of options, and there's a lot of crucial decision making that come down to mind games. I think this is probably one of the maps where we see more mind games in terms of trying to bait positioning. Sometimes we see feigns on the keep to force people to hearth back, to then steal the temple, stuff like that. There's a lot of fun just mental positioning, I guess, is a good way to put it for Sky Temple. But
fun thing to take note of, aside from Lunar Flare and hook/slam, if they choose to go for the stun on that ability, there's nothing to really deal with Jug of 1,000 Cups. So the healing for Lily, I think they probably
that's a good point.
Took a quick look at the composition that Lunatik had drafted up until that point and said, not a whole lot of stuns available for that team. And I think we can probably get away with taking Lily for the Jug of 1,000 Cups, get a lot of utility out of it. And so I'm told, if she gets to level 20...
with Kung Fu Hustle or 1 million cups,
that's a lot of healing.
She's pretty okay.
You can even see with the Kung Fu Hustle, multiple cups per fight, like probably a 20-second cooldown for a ridiculous amount of AoE heal. Something to keep in mind. Now, that said, it is Sky Temple. Matches don't tend to go that long. They probably will hit 20, but how many fights will happen post-20? Not that many. Probably one or two.
That's a great thing to point out. Definitely something you have to think about, but still, Lily's just like steady sustain. They don't have, although they have a very bursty composition, Lily has so much healing potential, and she doesn't have that CC. And I'm not really sure that they need it in this because their composition is very whittle them down. Because when the two big healers are removed from the meta, and they pick up Malfurion, who has a ton of healing.
Yeah.
Still, Tempest Storm's just going to keep applying a lot of damage throughout the game, and it's going to boil down to whether or not Lunatic can get those picks with Stitches.
A lot will be riding on the Stitches' ability to do just that. And the follow-up, of course, from the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Another thing to mention, Lily has the Blinding Winds, and there happens to be an Illidan.
Oh, that's actually really very true. Very true.
And the spacing won't be too hard, right? Because you have to figure, if the hook doesn't hit, then it's going to be Illidan diving in, and it's going to be easy to space that. It's not something that you can target. It's more like who's close enough target-wise to this certain range. I don't know the exact range in number units, but if Illidan's there, he's going to get hit by it if he's within that certain range of Lily. And if you've played a little bit with Lily, you can get the positioning on that. It's the same with how the cups are targeted as well. You just sort of position yourself so that the person you need to heal is the only person within range, so that you can make sure that the target goes to them. Although it will prioritize lower HP heroes.
Yeah, those like homing abilities, I mean, players have got a pretty good grasp of it. Sylvanas, the newest hero that is likely going to be added next week, also has a homing ability, but that one is aggressive and not friendly.
Not friendly.
Not friendly at all. It's for the enemy team to smack them in the face with some nice teal-looking arrows.
Teal-looking arrows.
I don't know how else to describe them. Sky Temple is slowly trying to load.
Yeah, it is struggling.
Somebody is actually using a steamboat as a computer. They're on the Mississippi River. They're trying to boot up this game, and their steamboat was just chugging along, just spewing out steam.
Shoveling coal into that thing.
They're just trying. They're just trying. He's hoarding his little brother to get that coal into that steamboat computer. And maybe this game will boot up.
This is a very wild tale you're spinning here.
You never saw a steamboat computer before?
No, I can't say I have.
You haven't been to very many good LAN parties, my friend.
You mean steampunk?
Nope, LAN parties.
Okay, all right. I'll just say that I'm lost here. You'll have to fill me in later about the steamboat computers.
I'll have to show you the power of a steamboat computer, but.
Right.
Oh, the steamboat computer! The coal has reached the threshold to increase
ignition
by
temperature
5%. 5%. All right, we've seen some good progress today.
Oh, we're moving now.
Oh, chugga chugga.
Once you get up to chugga chugga.
Kubi actually has a snowblower, and he named it Chugga Chugga.
Yeah, it's no longer hot outside. It's actually starting to warm up a little bit.
Snow's almost gone.
It's getting there. Although I heard we're going to get some of that more tomorrow night.
Don't talk about that.
1 to 3 inches.
We're not talking about that.
We are talking about it now. I'm talking about
it. We're talking about steamboat computers.
Oh my gosh, someone's computer is struggling hard. As soon as we get into the game, guys, someone's going to have disconnected and then reconnected. Guarantee it. Guarantee it.
All right, well, we are almost loaded up into this game. Look at that guy. He's doing this full yoga stance. Is that a yoga stance?
Who
got wrecked?
Oh.
No one got wrecked.
Nobody got.
Have a steamboat for a computer.
I'm just looking terrible right now.
Well, that's new.
Oh.
Daihu DC'd. He crashed. Okay.
Someone did.
No problem. So that is going to be a restart. Quitting game.
From the words of the wise Jake, ripperoni and cheese.
I'm gonna order one of those at the Pizza Palace.
No rhyme?
And cheese.
I
No,
thought
that was
for
a
sure.
song.
Okay.
That was a song.
You usually rhyme and song at the same time.
You were supposed to follow up with ripperoni and cheese. I thought that was very apparent.
Pizza Palace.
I don't know.
And cheese do not rhyme.
It's not a rhyme. It's a song.
But songs are way better when they rhyme.
I guess so.
You should know this. I shouldn't have to be explaining this to you.
Okay. Well,
I had to quit out of the client.
Yeah, we have to exit the game. When you have to quit a replay,
Please.
You can't actually just quit the replay. You just have to quit game.
This is true.
Rip life.
So bear with us, guys, while we get that set up.
And as soon as we can get that lobby back up, we shall. The teams will be inviting us in just a moment.
All right, Jake, real talk. How do you feel about Illidan in these pick-style comps?
How do I feel about Illidan?
Real talk. Give it to me straight. How is it?
He doesn't make the most sense, but he's good at chasing. So he doesn't have that burst to just blow you up, but he can finish the deal. So I think it'll be fine. Illidan's just a really good hero in general.
Yeah.
We'll see how it pans out for him as if we ever get this game going. And, of course, who was it that had the steamboat? I need to send them an email.
Daihu?
Daihu.
Let him know about it.
We're going to mail him some steamboat pictures after this. If we're going to find out Daihu's
You know, they
Twitter.
have, like, Twitter for these kind of things.
We're going to find Daihu's Twitter, and we're all going to email him pictures of steamboats.
Why are you so insistent on the email thing? It's 2015.
Tweet.
You tweet at the man. You show him pictures of steamboat computers.
Okay. So, guys, find Daihu on Twitter and just
Yahoo.com. Email him.
Just spam him. Just spam him pictures.
Oh, good God. So, Illidan, the more I look at it, the more I think it's not really a denial pick, but let's take this because the hero is very strong and attempt to build a team around it. Saw the picks and we're like, you know what? Kind of feeling the pick comp. Yeah, Illidan, he's good.
Yeah, he's
good. I mean, he kind of fits into every composition. If he has the right support, the team backup, he's
a well-rounded dude.
It's hard to be in a bad spot with Illidan there. So,
well, computer went full potato, says Daihu.
And I think we're about to get game number 1 started, finally.
I tell the players, steamboats ahoy.
Yes.
And we are going.
That we are. We get to stare at the Sky Temple loading screen once again. All right, so who were you talking about before? Some guy was doing the splits or something?
This guy. He's doing like, is that a yoga pose or is that?
No, it just kind of looks like he's doing lunges.
Doing lunges?
Yeah.
Okay.
Knocking people away. Wait, is Thrall about to get like completely wrecked? Like, you know what I'm talking about with the cone thing?
No, the attack already went down.
So it already, well, but it kind of travels out, right? Like there's like an animation to it where he just swings his arms. He's like, "Ugh, get out of here."
Thrall's going to dance in the winds.
Oh, right. He is the
shaman.
He's the lightning dice, not the wind guy.
No, he's got wind.
He's got wind.
He controls all elements. That's what Thrall.
Man, that's so overpowered.
You need to watch the
Warcraft
cutscene where Thrall fights.
For reference, guys, I just am not a WoW guy.
No,
so.
But I'm just letting you know there's this cutscene in the new WoW expansion where Thrall fights someone. I'm not going to say who. Gosh, that cutscene is awesome.
Is it Grommash?
Shh.
What do you mean? How would I know?
Shh.
I'm asking.
Maybe.
You're really bad at lying. Rip. Spoilers. Kubi spoilers. I didn't even know it. How does he do this every time? Every time. All right. I think we have a full game. Everyone's here. No one has disconnected, so we're in a good spot. Let's get to introducing
we
these
are
teams.
in a good spot. And yeah, speaking to those teams on the blue side, well, that happens to be Lunatik Esports here.
Oh!
Their final match in the Fly Day, and their pre-gate shenanigans are on point. They're following the leader, Silo playing Illidan, Ivy Slime on Jaina.
Oh, Daihu, what happened? Come on. Is you actually that slow on your little horse that you can't catch up?
No, Protege's going to be playing Malfurion Hospital on Tyrande, and Daihu playing as Stitches.
That's right, and you know what? I'm just going to apologize. Blanket apology to Tempo Storm. If they were doing any kind of shenanigans, sorry, we got to Lunatik Esports first, and they had an amusing enough introduction for us, so we had to watch that. All right, real quick. Tempo Storm, we have Arthlon playing Vala. KO is going to be on Zagara. Glaurung on ETC, that's right, he's in his new role on the Warriors. Soldier is going to be playing Tassadar. Now flex position and Dreadnought on Lili.
Now Sky Temple, the way it works is, of course, the first tribute spawn is the top and the middle temples. So that's when you'll tend to see the teams trying to put some aggression on either of those. You see this triple man pushed in the middle lane from Tempo Storm. Zagara alone can push very hard, and this is kind of signaling Tempo Storm towards going for the middle temple at the start of the game.
That is correct. Also a triple push to counter this on the top lane for Tempo Storm, and the triple push mid lane. Down bottom, no Zagara? How do you feel about this?
Yeah.
Usually we see Zagaras are put in the bottom lane. It's just sort of split apart from the rest of the action that's going on, and it's easy to, I'm not going to say siege up, but just sort of get your home camp set up with all that creep and a lot of value. Surprising.
It's true, but I mean, just getting this early push in the top lane makes a lot of sense. I mean, they've already taken out that first tower, and then in the middle lane, we can see that, you know, there's been a decent amount of damage done as well. They haven't quite taken a tower yet, but they've applied some aggression, and they're going to start by capping that middle temple. But Tempo Storm,
they're moving in.
They're contesting.
Point Glaurung leading the charge on ETC, trying to contest this, but all 5 members of Lunatik Esports are there, and Dreadnought finding himself suddenly very low in HP, and it falls quite quickly.
Yeah, really nice. Just follow up with the root, and then the Lunar Flare connecting at the end, picking up that kill. Ooh, that knockback potentially saved Malfurion there. Just the trajectory in which it sent him to the side.
Calculated.
Yeah, calculated.
Arthlon, of course, does have, ooh, Silo with a nice jump in with a dive. Is able to stop Vala enough, and wow, this is I'm going to say a very shaky start for Tempo Storm. They're attempting to put down some pressure in this middle temple.
It was a 5v4.
Yeah, that's
Zagara
true.
has sat up here in the top lane the entire time, and through that he's done a ton of damage. Considering that first temple was taken, or the first tower was taken, I believe he got through the second tower before even grabbing this. That fort will fall very quickly, but you know, the experienced lead does go to the side of.
Yep. 5v4 or not, you have to realize the potential power that you have and what can happen, of course, when you're fighting down in numbers. And I'm surprised the Tempo Storm got as aggressive as they did.
Yeah, very true. Well, maybe just a little bit too confident. Bane's going in. They're trying to finish off this top fort. And then with Glaurung dashing on in, they are going to take that out. But we can see how aggressive Lunatik is getting. They have a slight advantage, and they're trying to press that forward. Illidan can mark so well, but with the help of Malfurion, this can go down very quickly.
Looks as though Dreadnought has caught wind of the fact that they are capping. Actually, no, he might just be trying to grab the well. And they are not aware of a Tempo Storm, and they do get their Giants. Oh no, if I swap sides, yeah, I swapped sides again, didn't I? No, they stole it. They stole it.
Yeah, it was a nice steal.
I just see Red sitting over the camp, and I'm like, what? What is going on?
Oh, I see. Yes, no, but nice pickup here by Lunatik, stealing the Giants. They picked up 2 Giant camps. They have a slight lead here in the game, and talents level 7 to 7. Yeah. We can take a look at some of the talents we're seeing.
Yeah, we got Mule for Toronto. How do you feel about that?
A lot of teams value having the 1 Mule. Tempo Storm is one of the few teams that we almost never see pick it up on this map. And as long as it's used very proactively, it can just flat out change games.
During regrowth, grab for Malfurion. That's just a little bit, I'm not going to say burst, but you will get more overall healing, of course, for that talent pickup. Stitch is going for pretty much a full utility style build with that Chew Your Food and amplified healing at level 4. Double healing ward. I like the talents that have been picked up for Lunatik.
All right, so as the Sentinel connects with Dreadnought, they're going to say, all right, we're going to stop hiding these bruisers. They know that we have them ready to go. And Dread is still stalling their camp out. He's just making sure he's very aware of that. Silent doing the same with the bruisers on their side of the map. And they're just trying to time these as soon as those temples are going to spawn. So there we see the cap, and the bottom temple has in fact spawned.
Nicely timed for Tempo Storm. Also, one other talent that I want to point out is the Mass Vortex for Lili. That's extra targets hit by the Blinding Winds, so we actually might see something that I mentioned before we got into this game, the potential for Blinding Winds to have an effect on Illidan. Perhaps they will be pushing forward. I know there's some talents at level 13 that can really amplify that style of build, so we'll see.
Well, right now, Tempo Storm isn't trying to contest this. They're just trying to hit level 10. Once they hit level 10, they can then opt to push in, and if they're lucky, they can find someone out of position. But because we can see the rotation coming up from Lunatik, trying to just make sure they don't get too much push, and here we see this rotation. Remember, ETC, he has that global presence now that level 10 has been achieved.
It looks as though Temple Storm will be posturing, but they have to go through a quick choke to get in. Glaurung puts himself in a very nice spot to get an aggressive position, and a Hospital dies very quickly. That is the Tyrande out of the battle. KO finds himself dropping, and the Jug of 1,000 Cups is doing a very nice job keeping the remaining members of Temple Storm alive. Ivy Slime finds himself falling. The positioning for Daihu is not all that ideal. Silal having to pop Metamorphosis, and...
Well, you know, that Maw did what it needed to do. It pulled two members in, and even though Zagara died, it allowed the rest of the team to not only posture, but the full duration of those cups going off, healing that team back up, because Arthwan was so low, but when you can get that full duration on you, you get healed up nice and quick, and they managed to steal the final cap on this bottom temple.
Not going to end up doing a whole lot of damage to this bottom four, as they hadn't really put any structural damage there just yet. Just a little bit of a tap, but does set themselves up nicely for the future. We do have the Mule that was picked up for Tyrande that will help heal this fort back up to full. Very important on this map, although it's not as impactful as we once thought when the map was first released. We even actually saw some teams grabbing double Mule on this map early on.
That no longer works, just to note. That
not two at once, but having two just in general.
Well, back in the day, it was 2 at once.
Oh, 2 at once is a real thing. And
the
hook
they have never
thrown out from Daihu hits Glaurung, not the target that they were hoping to see. Doesn't have stage dive out, but of course the rest of the team wasn't anywhere near in a position to capitalize and punish Glaurung for that.
And yeah, Temple Storm's getting the better soak now, so they've taken that experience lead. We've had Arthwan in this top lane. He's cleaning up that wall because the wall does in fact grant vision to Lunatic Esports. And Temple Storm's, they're for the most part, they're sticking together, playing safe, and making sure that this boss doesn't try to get picked up.
They are actually starting to out-soak Lunatic just by a little bit. They have a very, very slight experience lead. So they're starting to put some pressure on this map, and then we find that Zagara is now actually starting to creep up this bottom lane. We had a set of Giants, and really right now it's going to be about that race to 13. They want to hit those talents, get that nice little power spike. For Zagara, this means the Mutalisk has been grabbed now, and at 16 with the double Mutalisk, that's when Zagara really starts to get scary in those 1v1 fights.
Yeah, of course the Muta will persist even after its target does fall or go into a different, phase, maybe the dimensional shift kind of deal. Any kind of jump on the Lost Vikings will disengage a Hydralisk, but not the Mutalisk.
Right.
And we've seen that kind of just gain popularity because of that one fact.
Whoa, Stitches grabs Indigestion, a talent I don't think I've ever seen picked up in a competitive game. Using Devour creates a Wretchling, which is just like a small unit that is created with Stitches. So if you see a little green thing floating around in the middle of the team fights you've never seen before, that's what that is. I can't imagine why he grabbed this over, say Relentless or Slam upgrade.
Yeah,
we'll see.
We'll find out. Now, the team has the synergy there. They threw the hook out and they had the root and the Lunar Flare in place. I mean, they have the timing down. They just need to make sure they connect that hook, but it's good that the team is trusting the Stitches hook because that's what they have to do in this match.
Yep.
Right now, Temple Storm is sitting on both temples. Tassadar is going to back off as he's getting bullied out. And ETC stage diving in from the top lane. They're going to push forward, and immediately we see Tranquility being used by Malfurion.
Yes, the Strafe is being thrown down, getting quite a bit of value. ETC did sort of whiff a little bit with that stage dive, although the positioning is quite favorable at the moment for Temple Storm. They have sort of a flank on them going a little bit. The maw is very big, yes. And that sets up Glaurung to get a nice stun as they pull out immediately, and the damage capitalization is there for Temple Storm. They're going to actually clean themselves up, possibly with an ace here. There's no way Hospital can get out of there.
Yeah, that's just really well done. They played that situation perfectly. They're going to get both temples almost entirely. I don't know if they lost a shot there, honestly.
Very well played from Temple Storm. I really can't emphasize enough how strong the positioning was with the flanks. Nicely done from Glaurung to just put himself in the most annoying position. Like I said, the stage dive wasn't quite there, but the spot that he found himself in immediately after was it made it very awkward for Lunatic Esports to try to carry out the rest of the fight, because they probably wanted to back up and give themselves a little bit more space, but Temple Storm knew that they didn't have that option as they were confined to the temple at the bottom side.
Yeah, well, just right now, Tempo Storm has really taken a solid lead. They went from being very even to just one decisive 5-0 team fight, and now they have a 2-level lead and a talent advantage. There is that double meter list you talked about. We do have the 2-for-1, so it's not going to be the Herbal Cleanse on Lily today. 2-for-1, just opting for the extra healing, and Lunatik will do their best to regain that ground and hit level 16 themselves.
We do see the hindering winds, which is 25% slow for everyone hit by those winds, which they upgraded at level 4 to go from 2 to 4. So they can just about hit the entire enemy team in the team fights for a considerable slow for 2 seconds. Interesting style of Lili play here. We saw the boss was grabbed, so like you mentioned, Tempo Storm is in a very, very favorable position. And on this map, it gets kind of rough for the team, especially after the 10-minute mark. If you find yourself, you know, a level and a half down, you have to come up with some interesting and shocking style plays to catch yourself back into the game.
And yeah, they're constantly having to deal with this global soak of Glaurung's ETC. So that makes it so hard to catch up in levels when he's constantly just like in your face. He doesn't care. He's not afraid of you. If he has to stage dive out of a situation in the event that he's caught out of position or hit by the hook, he's going to be just fine. And that's kind of the power of these kind of heroes that have that global presence. And, you know, they're doing a good job just being kind of everywhere on the map, maximizing that experience. But 16 has finally been attained by Lunatik.
I like the pickup for Stitches on the fishing hook. And there, just barely missing Dreadnought. Would have been a very nice grab for them. So, I like the grab on fishing hook instead of going for Pulverize. Even though the area grab wasn't increased, you still have the strafe, and it has done some sizable amount of work. And you also have Lili's Jug of 1,000 Cups. Both of those things can be stunned out to great effect. Still, for them to come back in the game, Lunatik needs to get a huge hook, and they need to try to maximize the distance that they can cover to make it even more secure that they're going to pick the kill. So they need to try to get a read on either Zagara or Lili's movements.
They have no idea. They have no idea that they're here.
Yeah.
It's going to be caught in the back line, and they're trying to get the collapse. A nice route zoning Glaurung back for a little while and allowing them to get away with the creature pile. And the Lunar Flare connects on KO, and KO will get removed immediately. The stage dive a little bit late, and that Archon being used in the back line. Glaurung is getting focused so very quickly, but the Lili heals and the Tyrande heals happen just to be enough.
Okay, yes, and with the water elemental, it's a snowman elemental. 2 nice hooks in a spawn of about 30 seconds here is going to get quite a bit of effectiveness for Lunatik Esports. And yes, this is how you catch yourself back up in the game. And I got to be a little bit critical of Tempo Storm. They were already ahead.
Yeah.
What was the point of the...
They're trying to end the game early.
Bush.
If they do succeed with that party bush, they can just end the game.
Okay,
and
but I think it seems as though it was kind of an unnecessary risk.
I can't argue with you. And they paid for it.
Kudos to Lunatik, though, for capitalizing on the positioning. The hook on the Zagar to start the fight off. The capitalization was there for the rest of the team. The Lunar Flare, the Hunter's Mark, and the DPS was all on point, starting that fight off in a 4v5. And then the positioning to capitalize to get the kill on ETC. Got themselves a nice 3-for-0, and they're back in this game.
Yeah, I mean, just that's what we said. The hooks is what this composition is all about, and making sure they line up those lunar flares or roots is crucial, and they've done a great job. A lot of nice plays in that fight, and now we do see that they've just caught up exactly in experience. They're a sliver behind, 18-18, yes, very even. Glaurung is looking to potentially steal this camp of Giants, though.
They have officially forced Lunatik Esports to back up. It was very nice timing for Tempo Storm. Perhaps they had a read that Illidan was somewhere across the map, not with the team. They could get aggressive. Or Tempo Storm was just feeling particularly confident. And, has Kubi's computer locked up? No matter. No matter.
We don't need that.
We don't. All right. So, moving forward, positioning-wise, I would say, yes, Tempo Storm has really secured themselves map control once again. What does Lunatik do to capitalize once again to get back in this game? Again, I gotta go back to the hooks.
Kubi has left the game.
Kubi has left. Gone. Rip.
Well, we see that Lunatik is rotating around the back. Their bruisers are up. That is the last objective on the map other than the boss that just spawned. But you can't just take a raw boss because they call it a throw pit for a reason.
They do call it the throw. We might have a new throw pit coming up with the addition of a new map. All right. So you got to look at it, I guess, from the hook perspective.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that hook attempt.
Yeah, that's exactly how they lost the previous mercenary camp. the Giants in the bottom lane. Just Glaurung was sitting nearby and said, "Oh, you're taking this? No, I'm taking this." Right? And it was just his positioning. He happened to be forward enough. They didn't have enough information about where the rest of the Tempo Storm was and say, "Okay, we have to back up." They weren't going to let that happen again. And if they figured Glaurung is going to try another play like that, he's going to die because the hook positioning would put him back over the wall for the keep, guaranteed kill, or at least to force him to use stage dive to leave, which is a huge win.
Yeah, great points. Well, we can see that we do have Tempo Storm. They're sitting on that bottom temple. They're making sure they push back the bottom lane as the best they can, and Tassadar is just keeping a careful eye on this boss. We do have Glaurung in the top, and he's going to do his best to clean up these bruisers. This fort's going to fall regardless, and he can stage dive when needed.
Splitting temples at this point is not at all favorable for Lunatik Esports just because they're behind in structural damage. Still, I'm not sure that this necessarily warrants them making a risky play to try to stop this. They might be able to take a trade here, but they're going to have to make a play eventually because, like I said, splitting temples is not in their best interest.
Well, I like that they're pushing out like this, so they're just leaving a few behind, and they're trying to put some pressure on that middle lane, and once they realize they're being contested, they're falling back. So they're playing safe. Like you said, it's not favorable. I mean, but the Mule is the big factor.
That's actually a good point. I had kind of forgotten about the Mule a little bit, and it is going to make those trades actually probably quite bearable. I'm playing again? I'm not playing anything. I'm playing caster game. All right. So actually at this point, both teams are more or less playing as safe as possible until they can hit level 20. There we have it. A Bolt of the Storm for ETC, Zagara, and Vala. Well, okay, there's not really many great options for ETC at level 20 if you take stage dive. So I guess that's fine, but it would obviously have quite a bit more effectiveness if you had the dance, but not the case. Glaurung actually getting stunned out quite a bit, and the hook is actually going to be clean onto Soldier, but he's probably one of the targets. Might even be one of the worst, considering the build that he has gone for, the prescience and the upgraded dimensional shift, which really lets him get out of almost any situation.
Well, the stage dive was used.
Yes.
That is a heroic for nothing, essentially. So it brought him across the map because Glaurung thought it might be a bad situation. They weren't able to capitalize on that, but they did, in fact, get the Giants. Right now, I mean, the game is very even, 20-20 for both teams. We can see there are 7 Bolt of the Storms in this game.
Probably the most I've ever seen in one single game. And Tyrande, wishing that she had something other than Rewind and Storm Shield because she wants that Bolt. She wants to be Bolt Boys. She can't.
She can't do it.
She can't do it. But Bolt on Stitches.
Yeah.
Bolt on Stitches.
It's going to be interesting.
Actually odd to go for that over the Hardened Shield.
Yeah. It's
I can understand it for all the other heroes, but Stitches, yeah, and if you took Gorge, fine. That makes sense too. Especially if they really want to put a lot of eggs into the hook basket. Are they going to go for a pick?
They should
no real
try.
excellent targets. They really need to try to isolate either Dreadnought or KO, as those heroes will have the most difficult time escaping.
All right, the hook goes down. There is no follow-up. I think the Lunar Flare has also been used, so they're going to wait for those timers. Again, Roots used to disengage this time. Middle Temple going to be contested at the start by Tempo Storm, but it looks like Lunatik realizes they need to fight over this, and they just can't split it like you mentioned earlier. And there is that combo, but Bolt of the Storm was used by ETC.
This is very favorable, and I would actually suggest for Lunatik to back up. They have to put so much emphasis on getting the hook to try and outplace members of Tempo Storm, and honestly, having or not having that ability, Glaurung does get hooked, but do they have enough damage to capitalize on it? They do.
But look at that Maw. It is a huge Maw, and we can see if they can follow up. There goes the Banelings. Illidan going into the front line. The Archon willing away the best he can, but Tranquility might be too much. The heals are there. Tassadar backing on up, using that dimensional shift, but with the Lunar Flare connecting and Illidan dashing on forward, he's nearly going to get the kill.
KO finds himself on the wrong side of the rest of his team, will fall out. Tassadar having to use both of his dimensional shifts just to stay alive. The heal and the strafe for Lili both got full effectiveness, but still not enough. The Twilight Dream was just more than enough to make up for that, and the positioning for Lunatik Esports was solid enough, and they were able to get themselves ahead. Catching that early ETC kill was big. I got to give Lunatik Esports credit here. They're really capitalizing on the hooks that they happen to land.
let's look at the structures. The first keep of the game actually fell on Tempo Storm's side because that Mule is getting its effectiveness. They were sieging this. Guess what? The keep's still alive. Mule healing the bottom keep. Top keep hasn't even been touched yet. In Tempo Storm, they're attempting a boss, but Lunatik does have that the Sentinel, and they're not even going to use it. They're well aware this is a likely option. That will confirm any suspicions they might have, and here they are moving on in, but Illidan is not going to be here for this fight.
Glaurung positioning to try to block the hook as well as possible. What is the position for the rest of the team? They move in. Glaurung tries to block it, but he doesn't have another knockback to get the team off.
Jugs is doing what it needs to do. The heals coming out from Lily are going to be enough to force this back. They're going to find Daihu, who is forced to bolt Storm out of here. And Bolt is actually just back and forth doing so much. This is very greedy by Arthlon.
Of course, he does still have that Bolt of the Storm, but still, yeah, to see Vala using Vault on an aggressive play, you don't see that all that often. And they were actually, Tempo Storm was still able to pick up the boss. Of course, you have to keep in mind that was a 4v5 as Illidan was on the top side capturing the temple. They did almost get that top keep down, but that's not really the important story. It is this boss that is pushing oh so hard into this bottom lane.
Yeah, and that Mule is just going to get removed immediately. We're looking at 20 minutes into the game of Sky Temple, and this boss is rather strong. Level 21 to 21. The core still has those shields, but Ivy Slime forced to bolt back as soon as the Archon starts wheeling away, and they're going for the core.
Silal actually finds himself taking a little bit too much damage and has to back up. Glaurung just will not die. And that's going to be enough. That distraction is there. And they're able to capitalize on the boss and take a very clean sweep onto that core.
I mean, really well played by Lunatik. I mean, they
did.
They took that advantage. They took many convincing team fights. They played patiently, and the synergy for the hook was there every time.
It's a very, very good point. I hope this doesn't act as a discouragement for them because they, like you said, they played really well. And I think if anything, that proves that they're more than capable of taking games, even a series off of Tempo Storm.
That's the frustrating thing with their score here in the ESL Major League. If you look at their score, I think they're like 1-6 or something, or 1-5. They have come they took a game off Maelstrom. They took Maelstrom to game 3. They nearly beat them. Tempo Storm, here they go, looking very good in Sky Temple. I mean, these guys, they have what it takes, and they're playing very well, but they're just so close to taking so many games.
Yeah, they had, I think, quite a bit of effectiveness for the hooks. Like you mentioned, they capitalized very well. Perhaps it came down maybe to the draft. If they had maybe a replacement for Illidan, I got to go back to that again.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure. Like, if they had another... I'm not sure what hero I would have subbed in. I mean, of course, it was their first pick, and they probably would have liked to build their composition around Illidan.
There's a lot of other bursty heroes that would have worked better, though, for sure.
Not that they were necessarily having a hard time capitalizing on the kills for the hooks, but it just kind of seemed like the effectiveness was not really there for the rest of the team fight, especially in that last one where the hook was there, but then Illidan went in and just found himself really overextended. You sort of need that backup to really supply Illidan with either a lot of HP or some kind of CC crowd control.
And they don't have that burst heal either. That's definitely another. I mean, Malf has the heal over time, but they don't have a lot of quick healing. They don't have that ancestral healing to keep them alive, and that's kind of the risk running Illidan in those kind of games. So, but well played to Tempo Storm, taking the first game of the series. We're going to throw to a quick commercial break, and guys, we'll be back in just a little bit with game number 2 between Lunatik Esports and Tempo Storm. What is up, guys? Welcome back here to the ESL Major League Americas.
I'm Kubi.
Oh, I'm Solid Jake, and game number 2 is going to be on Cursed.
That's right. We just saw a very close game, actually, between Lunatik Esports and Tempo Storm. Very fun. I actually thought the Stitches play was quite nice. Quite nice. Kudos to them.
Hooks.
So let's see if they can perhaps get the Stitches again. Maybe tailor their team a little bit more, but they were close. They were close with that game.
Yeah, they were. I mean, just the synergy. You can tell that the teams are getting a lot better at those pick comps. Just lining up that Lunar Flare and trusting it, even if the hook doesn't connect. I mean, we're seeing the roots, we're seeing the Lunar Flare being followed up, just trusting in the Stitches player. Because if you do, you're rewarded with a kill. A kill could mean you get a temple. I mean, it works.
Honestly, a lot of times, even if you don't always get the right target with the Stitches hooks, even if you have all of those stuns and roots locked up and timed out very well, we saw it multiple times. They were able to pick Laurong on ETC and kill him.
And if you don't kill him, maybe you're baiting out Jugs very early in the fight. Like there's a million ways to look at it. So it was very strong play.
Right.
But Temple Storm takes a 1-0 advantage.
They found themselves at the better end of a very, very solid team fight later on in the game. They were able to get themselves a boss golem moving forward, and they kind of carried out that momentum wave all the way through the keep. And Mule, while it did have quite a bit of HP healed on structure, so it was not able to save them there.
You know, I wish there was a way for us to see the actual number, like the amount of structure healing.
Someday. We'll have those things.
Soon. Someday.
Soon/someday. Yeah, they're kind of close.
No, yeah. Very good.
Indeterminate amounts of time.
Yeah, of course, the Ollie is actually the guy that created the current spectator client we have.
Yes.
He's a very dedicated member of just competitive heroes. He used to be involved in Game Hard on StarCraft 2, and he made pretty much the interface that you guys see here in these tournaments. So shout-outs to Ollie.
Yeah, it's been a godsend. Honestly, it has helped modern casting for this game so much.
What would we do?
What
would we do? Pull up that tab screen to look at talents? That was rough.
That was rough. Those times were rough, and it was always a struggle. How often do we bring this up? Because it's very jarring to the viewer to see that giant screen pop up over the middle of the action. You had to sort of pick and choose the right time, even to bring that up. But visually, it's not a good thing to look at. But Ollie has solved that problem for us.
And you know what else has been solved? The lobby, as game number 2 draft is going to start right now. Cursed Hollow is the map. Notice I switched between Cursed and Cursed to keep all the viewers happy. You gotta please everyone.
So does that mean I have to say Cursed?
You can say.
Are you baiting me to say Cursed to keep the quote-unquote viewers happy?
You just said it twice.
I hate you so much right now.
Well,
he's the police of himself.
This time, first man, gonna be on the side of Tempo Storm.
I would love to talk about a change in strategy for Lunatik, but honestly, if they're able to get Stitches again and build a composition around that, go for it. Because it's even stronger on this map than it is on Sky Temple, right?
Yeah, that's very true.
Look at this ban. How do you feel about this ban right here?
Well, Temple Storm is not a fan of being picked by pick comps. And if you're not afraid of Stitches, but you don't want to have to worry about pick comps, Tyrande is a very good answer. And here's a few things about Tyrande. Everything about her kit is wondrous.
Everything.
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 And now they can scoop up Rhaegar if they want, but I still think they'll probably stick to a damage.
Probably Vala.
Or Illidan, either or. Depends on which way they want to go.
Yes, that's a good point, too. If they so choose to go for Illidan, who would you like to see for the rest of the team from Tempo Storm? How would you like to see them build around that? Especially with Uther gone, that means no double healer, or at least no two quote-unquote top tier heroes. Supports, I'll get it eventually. Just let me do my thing. Well, there it is, Vala.
It is Vala, so the question is null and void. I think we'll see
Illidan and Rhaegar.
Illidan and Rhaegar or ETC. Okay, yeah, Illidan and Rhaegar. Makes a lot of sense. Really good start. Rhaegar hasn't been grabbed just yet, but there he is. And
okay.
That's a great, I mean, that makes Illidan so much more scary because the thing about Illidan is if you don't kill him, he just heals up so quickly. And if you almost kill him and he gets an ancestral heal,
yeah.
God, it's like when you're playing an MMO and you're fighting this really hard mob, right? You're fighting this mob and you almost have it dead, but you have to run to the point where you disengage it and then its health bar respawns, or it's kind of or Grave Golem in Heroes.
I was gonna say, you can make a very nice analogy to the game we're playing and
watching
right now.
You back up from a Grave Golem.
It's called leashing in this game. It says leash, nice little thing comes up, says leash. He gets his HP back. But no, Jake opts to go for random MMO analogies.
I've been playing an MMO, and it's kind of poisoning my brain.
So disgusting with you right now. Zagara again.
Zugara. She is. I did not think about that before I said it. Now, Zagara is. I like to take the heroes' names and like kind of mix it up a little bit. Like we call dibbles, and there's a lot of them. Caragoo. I always say Caragoo. Yeah. And that one didn't work. It did not work.
Proof that Jake does not proofread his thoughts before they come out of his mouth. Oh boy! All right, Zagara and Tychus. that one's going in the books. All right, Lunatik. I really like the Illidan grab. I was not necessarily not a fan of the Illidan pickup in the previous game. It was really so much how they decided to build with that. Illidan he's a hero. He needs quite a bit of love, but if you give it to him, he will make magic happen in the team fights. So
if you give him love, he will make magic happen
in the team fights.
Good.
In the team fights. All right. Good. Okay. Good. I'm glad we got that square.
Laser drill.
Yes, actually, very good point to bring up. Laser drill is something that we've seen a little bit. It's getting a little bit of popularity here and there. I think we saw it actually in Tuesday's games on that Blackheart game. And there's a little bit of potential, more so than you thought, about how it was played out, where you position it. You either put it in the back line where it's kind of annoying to get to and there's no opportunity for the enemy team to escape, or you set it down as a sixth body that they have to deal with. Oh. Chen.
Yeah, this is interesting. Chen being picked up by Lunatik. We've seen Chen played a little bit by Tempo Storm, but in this game, he's going to be going to the hands of Lunatik. Now, we've seen how powerful he can be. We've seen Glaurung's play, just stealing bosses from Maelstrom last week.
Tassadar, also just a very solid hero to round out the composition. They have a lot of ways they can finish this build off. They could go for the second support to really try to maximize the potential that Illidan gets in the team fights, or they could try to pick up some extra damage. It really is going to depend on how confident they are in Chen's positioning to disrupt Tempo Storm. If the Chen has quite a bit of practice and is quite good at getting in, splitting off either the healers, or just honestly zoning out 2 or 3 members of the enemy team, and then they can get in and capitalize, sure, go for something like Jaina. If you think that you might be in slightly more conventional team fights, not necessarily because the Chen player is bad, just maybe, isn't quite as versed, or they've perhaps scrimmed against Tempo Storm, they know that they're not going to get quite that much effectiveness out of it, then go for a second healer with Malf.
Wow.
So Jaina or Malf, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but we see Lily was picked up once again. Different map, different situation, still opting for that Jaina. And again, if you look at the stuns, as it stands, it's the barrel of Chen.
No.
And
that doesn't stun.
It does now.
When did they change this?
Pretty positive it does in the current build.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not. You sure? It used to be just displacement. Yeah. You sure?
I'm pretty positive.
Right. Okay.
In the
we'll
current
find
build,
out.
It displaces.
Because that was not in the patch notes.
I think that was one of those shadow patches.
Maybe. If it is, that's a pretty big deal. Otherwise, they're going to get a lot of utility still out of Strafe and Dragon of 1,000 Cups. Yeah. Otherwise, you're right. There aren't a lot of stuns. Actually, none other than that.
Literally, that's the only one.
That's it.
But...
So maybe Malf isn't
I mean, what are their other options,
right
though?
Wing, if they want to go double support.
Let me tell you, though, trying to catch up to a Lily for Polymorph, Lily... Yeah, that's so...
Awesome. Yeah, but then you have Barrel backing you up. You can get out. Wow, you're like, wow, okay. The more you talk about this awesome idea...
But to execute that well...
Hey, man, this is ESL NA Major League. We expect nothing but the best from these teams.
There's so many factors that are come down to just
If they take Brightwing, you have me a bag of flips.
No, I don't know a bag of flips. I'm not saying it's a bad call. I'm just saying it's going to be very hard to execute that well. Okay.
Some more damage. So they're feeling quite... I'd say that they're putting a lot of stock into Chen. And they feel comfortable with his ability to isolate or split apart Tempo Storm. I like it. I like the confidence.
I mean, when the barrel has that presence and Illidan and the Ravenous can just kind of go to town, it could be terrifying. So we'll see how it works out for him. This is do or die. This is the final potential game that Tempo Storm has to win here in the final. Well, this is the potential to be the last match played in the group stage by Tempo Storm and Lunatik.
Match point. That's what we call it in the business. Match point.
Words are really hard today.
Man, I'm liking how much the meta has diversified over the past. I can't even say over the past 2 weeks. It's just it feels like ever since we went into beta, every week and a half, 2 weeks, there's just been a new set of heroes that people are like all about trying. I love it. It's great. Tychus, I was just complaining about like a week ago. Tychus being slept on. Now he's getting played more. Love it. Yes.
No more Tychus beds today. We have
what? Beds?
They're sleeping on them.
Oh no.
Yes. Yes. All right. No, but Laser Drill has actually gotten some popularity. We don't really see Odin all that often.
Yeah. At least lately, when people have been picking up Tychus. Now,
what if they gave Odin roller skates and he moved a little bit faster?
It was like he's already on roller skates for the most part. What if... I mean, okay, I should say he's on roller skates when he uses his dash. Because that's pretty much roller skate Odin right there. Now, if they made him move a little faster... Oh, that's a tricky... That is a tricky line to walk. We'll talk about that in a little bit, Jake. Let's get to introducing the teams on the blue side as Jake does some switcheroos for the logos. We have Tempo Storm before them playing. We have Dreadnought on Lili. Arthon's going to be playing Tychus. Glaurung on ETC. KO on Zagara. And Soldier will be playing Fala. Oh, look at this. The push.
Slow walking. I like it. I like it. But on the red side of the map, we do have Lunatic Esports, who are once again doing their circle motions with Silo playing as Illidan. It's going to be Ivy Slime on Nazebo. Protege is going to be playing that Rhaegar. Tassadar, played by Hospital. And last but not least, Daihu, rocking out that tank with Chen, Storm Stout himself.
That's right.
He just had his holiday. It was St. Patrick's Day. We did a special Chen episode of the Daily Quest. What a guy.
So kudos to Lunatic. They actually cleaned up their pre-game dancing there. So I realized what was going on in that last game where Stitches jumped off early. He didn't realize the call to split to his lane. He did it one rotation too early. Okay. This time, they cleaned it up. Everyone rotated off at the perfect time, so it was just like a break. Boom. Everyone breaks off. It looks real clean. Nicely done. +1 style points.
Now, we've been saying this for a long time. Teams have been just flat out losing matches because their pre-gate tactics aren't really up to par with Tempo Storm. Last game, they almost had a full execution, and they got very close to defeating Tempo Storm. I think this means that
that's enough.
Lunatic might be able to take this game.
That's enough, just because they got +1 style points.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
I mean,
they have the experience lead.
You're right. I can't argue with any of this.
All right, well, in the bottom of the map, there's a lot of pressure that Zagara can just put on so much damage, and just push potential is there. We see he's got that creep highway going back. Creep is frequently going to be used more for vision than anything else, especially in these bottom lanes.
It's a good point to bring up. Push in general will be quite a bit stronger for Tempo Storm in the form of Melting Point Grenade on Tychus. Overall, what you have for Zagara in terms of her kit, and then just the extra, like, ridiculous amount of sustained heal that Dreadnought will be able to bring on Lili. I think that we can stand to see probably a fairly strong early game for Tempo Storm in the form of push. Whether this means that Lunatic Esports needs to attempt to get aggressive, Daihu finding himself on the wrong end of
let's just talk about that really quick. That's the thing with Chen. He can sit there and drink and gain shields, but Arthlon used the grenade to not only stop him from gaining his shields and energy, but it pushed him into a bad spot, and that has a 5-second cooldown to use that drink. So really nicely done by Arthlon abusing Chen's weakness.
Chen is a strong laner, like you mentioned. Actually, I would be okay with them swapping with the exception of the fact that ETC is top lane and also has stuns. Yeah, it's kind of a rough spot. There's no real good lane for Chen to go in to get a lot of effectiveness. We see that Illidan for Lunatik Esports has already gotten himself a pair of Giants. Nicely done. And it times out very nicely for that first tribute that was spawning in the top lane.
It is indeed going to be spawning in the top, and those Giants will be pushing in the bottom. That's something Tempestorm has to remember and be mindful of. But KO looks like he's going to be sticking around. He's actually going to be forcing Ivy Slime to potentially hang out with him, and this will allow KO to try to blow up these Giants before they make it to that wall. But we can see this tribute fight is well underway.
Dreadnought sort of putting the onus of initiation onto Lunatic Esports by channeling that tribute. They do have 4 as a 4v4 at this point. Yes, there is still one member of each team soaking the bottom lane. And actually they have backed up. Lunatic has. Protege is finding himself a bit too low in the favor of taking their bruisers.
Yeah, and we talked about that melting point. Well, Tychus now has that, so his
look at that
potential goes up. I mean, that wall is actually it's melting. Goodbye, wall.
There it goes.
There it goes.
What?
Nope.
What?
It says, hey, no, I'm here.
It has 1 HP. It has, oh, I swear, it had 1 HP out of 1,500. that pleases me.
That pleases the Gooby.
Yes.
Well, Tycho says, well, we took that wall down. Let me go destroy other walls, making his way to the top lane. And in the bottom lane, there is a potential roaming comp.
We see this about like 2/3 of a level lead for Tempestorm right now. That is all through structure advantage. No kills have been taken. The soak has been remaining relatively the same, as they had like 1 hero in the bottom lane for both. But there's 4 towers down in the mid and bottom lane.
But look at the pressure here in the middle. Those bruisers going forward. You have both Illidan and Chen, and they are blowing up that tower very quickly. Clark is doing what he can to stall this out, but
I think this is the right play. They have to make a play like this to try to catch up. If you find yourself a level down, going to level 10, and are down in tributes, that's going to be a huge hill to climb, as you're more or less going to have to give up that final tribute. And that curse will do a number on your structures. They're already down the fort in the bottom lane.
Yeah, I mean, Vala is just kind of doing Vala things, blowing that up. This wall has been taken down, like you mentioned, but they haven't applied any damage to this fort, and level 10 is going to be picked up. But look at this. They're trying to get this boss, and they are going to get it.
Yeah, they got to make a play like this. They have to, especially because they're down this level. This will at least apply a bit of counter pressure in the top lane, force Tempestorm to respond to it. It looks as though they were trying to get the leg up on this fight to potentially stop this. That's not going to be the case. So kudos to Lunatic Esports for having the initiative there, to, or at least the foresight to think that there's a timing for them to grab that golem, and it's just one of the many ways that they can catch up in this game.
Yeah, well, right now, Tempestorm, they're roaming around, they're picking up those bruisers, but we can look at those heroics. We do see the laser drill has, in fact, been picked up, and this is something that's been starting to pick up in popularity. Now, the problem with the laser drill is when you put it down, the enemy team can disengage. So there's a very specific timing in which you have to say, all right, well, they're overcommitted, now I can put this down. You can't set it up before the fight, per se.
To be fair, Odin was similar, but never mind that. Silal diving in, and ETC actually gets a very nice stage dive throughout the rest of the enemy team and gets quite a bit of effectiveness. The Ancestral Healing thrown down onto Daihu, and actually Ivy Slime's Ravenous Spirit gets interrupted by the Maw, and that is going to be a dead Nazebo. Silal now having to use Metamorphosis to get out, and that is going to be a disengaging Lunatic Esports. The shield on the evasion is going to be enough to keep him alive.
Yeah,
I think so.
It is also going to be enough for Tempestorm to get a curse. Now, the nice use of the laser drill, zoning them out, and actually they managed to pick up that kill onto Illidan. Not sure where clipped them in the end there, but nicely done by Tempestorm. And with this curse, I mean, they've already got that bottom fort. They're just going to push on in and easily remove the middle fort.
Right, I think that they might try to apply a slight bit of pressure to this wall here. The safer play would be, of course, to rotate to the top lane and take out the top fort. However, there is a fairly large creep wave they can try to distract, and yeah, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to push in. I don't see them getting this keep unless a couple of kills goes Tempestorm's way, and I think Lunatic Esports needs to just play safe. Yeah, they're probably going to have to give up this wall, but cut your losses. Don't fall too much further behind. There's a lot of ways to get back in this game.
Just talk about push potential, though. Between the power of Zagara and Melting Point, like, they would do so much structure damage. It's kind of ridiculous. And right now, KO is just kind of putting a few tumors around the map to act as wards. And this top lane, well, we can see the fort has taken a lot of damage. Ivysaur is going to do what he can, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to save it.
Okay, so for the next team fight, we do have most of the heroics are back off cooldown. Not saying that Lunatik Esports needs to get aggressive, but they need to sort of plan out their attack a little bit better for how they're going to approach the team fights. They were able to clean up that giant creep wave top, so they salvaged the fort, although we probably will see a rotation from Temple Storm to finish that up. But yeah, they need to... A lot of their strategy, I feel, is built around getting that effectiveness out of Chen's Wandering Cake. Okay, and they really need to make sure that they're capitalizing on that if they want to win the team fights. Because if you look at Tempo Storm's composition, although it's not necessarily standard, it's a lot more standard to execute.
All right, let's just talk about the situation really quick, because they realized that they could have tried to rotate to contest this boss, but Chen can always just barrel you off of it. So they're like, you know what? Let's not even think about that. And they're just applying a ton of pressure to the top with these giants. Really nice decision making by Tempo Storm.
Will they be able to push in to get the keep? No, it appears as though they're going to back up. Bala is actually mid, also applying some pressure. Everything is just in the form of pushing those creep waves out and forcing Lunatik Esports to be on the back foot to defend. Yes, there is that boss pushing down the bottom lane. It will probably...
Oh, there is the barrel being used, knocking ETC back off, so that is going to be a nice kill on the Bruisers, and the Archon has been used with the Ravenous, and a really nice push in the back, but the grenade does connect, stopping the Ravenous Spirit. Maw picking up 3 members, Illidan has fallen, and with the dashboard from ETC, does he have it?
He should. I'm surprised they actually didn't want to... I guess they decided that... Yeah, I guess getting out of the range of the laser is a big deal as well. I think that they might have been able to capitalize a little bit more off of the Maw, but also having the defense for the Golem. Probably a big deal as well.
Yeah, well...
Still, it's a win. It's a win for Tempo Storm. They'll take it. Not going to overextend at all.
So just looking at the talents here, we actually see Lead Rain picked up. Pretty interesting.
Yes, considering that we have the quarterback, we actually didn't get a chance to talk about that. That's... Increases the range. Okay, that's pretty much... Yeah, I was just saying. I thought it was the radius increase. That's at level 1. Yeah, that's absolutely for the Ravenous to make sure that they can get that interrupt in case... Nazeebo finds himself in spots that are just a little bit too difficult or hard for the enemy team to get to. Yes, they have stage dive, but you don't really want to have to put ETC that far out of the fight just to deal with Ravenous Spirit. So having that extra range, sure.
And more often than less,
why not grab it over first aid?
For global presence as well, so
sure. All right, Glaurung using stage dive to get in to stop that tribute.
And well, they're just pulling them back and forcing them off the tribute. Right now, I mean, it is 0-0 in terms of the count, and level 16 has just been picked up. So Lunatik realizes they're going to have 16. We cannot fight them.
Smart call. And I think that backing up and just getting that level of soak is going to be very important, especially when you consider some of the talents that are going to be available at level 16. That's the extra survivability for Tassadar, extra damage for the specialized Toxin. You have the heavy root for Rhaegar, extra survivability for Illidan, and depending on how Chen wants to play it, that's either a root or extra damage. So quite a bit more teamfight potential at level 16, and you can't discount what Tempo Storm has available to them now as a part of their kit. So very smart call to back up, not overextend there.
And just kind of looking at the talents, 2 for 1 picked up once again those double Hydras, but ATC, he's thinking hard.
He's thinking hard. Perhaps trying to debate if he wants to get Imposing Presence to deal with Illidan and Archon.
It's not a bad call. It really isn't. You consider how much damage you can mitigate from that alone. It's rather significant.
Okay, other option being Stone Skin. Opts to go for the extra survivability. Either of those is fine. I could have understood him taking Imposing Presence as well.
All right, well, they are roaming around the map right now. Teams are really just kind of feeling each other out. Those bruises will get cleaned up very quickly by Lunatik Esports. And, you know, Tempo Storm, they know how proactive Lunatik has been picking up these bosses. And Soldier's just going to show, just be like, hey, we're here, bro. We're here. And considering this tribute is spawning at the top, well, this just, the boss is not an
16. They need, okay, they do end up picking it up. Oh, actually, Blood for Blood's grabbed for Rhaegar and Illidan. We'll have to pay attention to that. Yeah,
this is a lot of damage.
It is.
They just picked up a lot of damage.
And perhaps they'll be able to make use of that. How is the barrel going to be used in this fight? We've seen it previously to take camps, but not really to split up teams. So Daihu diving in, is this his opportunity? No, he has taken quite a bit of damage from the double Mutalisk.
They're just putting that damage down onto Ivy Slime, and that signals a stage dive out of Glaurung. We see the healing ward being used, and there is the barrel trying to zone them back. Glaurung realizes this ancestral healing does connect with the Illidan player, and Glaurung is going to fall. Maw doing what it needs to do, but look at this Ravenous Spirit in the backline just doing so much damage. Arthlon barely surviving, dashing back. Every health bar on Tempo Storm is very low right now.
Daihu forcing to brew to try and keep himself alive, but yeah, you're right. Every member, and that is actually going to be a pickup. Will Silo be able to clean up this fight heavily in his favor? Should be able to get the dash onto Dreadnought. Yes, he does. Ooh. But the overkill is going to be enough to pick him up. He doesn't have the evasion, and he ends up falling. Ivy Slime also overstepping his bounds. Wow, Tempo Storm able to back up and turn that situation in their favor, picking up a 3-for-2 advantage, although they did give up one of the tributes during all of that.
But with it, like you said, it's 3-for-2 on the map right now. They're giant sieging this top keep, and they really have to respond to this. Tempo Storm looks like they're trying to pick off Tassadar. They're going to find Hospital, but again, he's got that race car build. He's got both the Dimensional Shift and
Dimensional Shift just finds himself off cooldown.
Protege is going to be able to hop into Wolf form if needed in Hospital. Still has...
Does he have the mana for it?
He has Prescient.
Okay.
Oh, the mana, yeah. Should be okay. Gonna be all right.
So they will, but I like the use of the barrel in that last fight. I can't get over enough. Like, you saw that Glaurung used stage dive to put himself in the middle of the enemy team. The barrel wasn't used right away, but as soon as he saw that dash move forward, barrel was activated, and there was a nice lane to keep the enemy team completely segregated from ETC. They're able to pick up the kill. Now, there were two giant other factors damage-wise in the fight. You mentioned Ravenous Spirit. They had no answer for that, but there was also very little answer for the laser drill, and both of those things were just teeing off against the enemy team. So that's why we saw it got really dicey at the end. It was just down to very, very little HP for both teams. And it looks like they're just going to be cleaning up this golems on either side. And the tribute actually spawning very favorably for Tempo Storm, although it is not a critical one. We're at 1-1 at the moment.
So we can see they're actually just doing a full-on Hearth home. Glaurung will be the only one that does not Hearth. He's going to walk like most cows have to do in the real world. And we see they're setting up, even throwing down that laser drill very defensively. Now the duration isn't that long, but it will definitely get a lot of damage done to this boss and help them defend it in a very aggressive manner. They're valuing just defending their structures as much as humanly possible. And as soon as Lunatik sees this, well, they Hearth back to take care of the boss of their own.
Sure, but they don't have the same options in the form of that laser drill. I don't think we're going to expect to see Ravenous Spirit used. Cooldown is just so much longer. Actually, 100 seconds for laser drill. I thought it was shorter than that. So quite a bit of resource spent.
It is
to clean that up.
But with that, they got that boss pressuring, and this top keep is very low. You see Glaurung going in with those crits, smacking it away, taking it down. First keep of the game has finally fallen.
Right.
Just taking a look at the structure damage, we can see 100,000 for this Tychus player right now.
That's right, and that also will count the damage for cleaning up that golem, which I'm sure he had quite a bit of hand in with cleaning up that laser drill. Now, positionally, all of these things have just been so much in favor of Tempo Storm, whether they planned it out, but going forward and taking out that keep and then backing up to capture this tribute is a big deal. And this is for Curse.
This is, in fact, for Curse in terms of Tempo Storm. 2 needed for our friends at Lunatik, and that stage dive just zoning them back a little bit. But the barrel doing a nice job, keeping Glaurung very exposed and away from the rest of his team. They stopped the Ravenous, but it was just enough to secure that kill. Scrape did some damage. The Ancestral used a little bit early, but the Cups, they're keeping Tempo Storm so very alive in that Maw. Hitting 3 members, the damage might be too much. Grenade picking off 1 kill, dashing forward. Protege is going to be the next one to get out.
What? Whoa, I think that was probably a mini-map that had to have been. I can't imagine why he would attempt to run back into that fight. Proteges will find himself barely escaping with 1 auto attack away from death.
Less than 50 hit points. I mean,
wow.
He was very low. But
nice chase for Tempo Storm. They were able to flank. And actually, Hospital, now out of mana, will probably also find himself, especially with that Mutalisk chasing, going to be hard-pressed to escape this situation. And that will be 4 members of... Yes, Lunatik esports down. It's going to be a heavy push.
Oh boy, Proteges is really suffering from that slow provided by the overkill. Grenade not quite enough to pick it up. The heals are going to be enough for him to survive, but the laser drill is going to town on this middle keep. And Arthalon says, look, I can get both of them at once. I got laser drill, I got melting point, I can do this.
Yes, Laser Drill doing quite a bit, and they just hit level 20, opting to go for that increase in range and the damage over time. So a big deal. We see the Kung Fu Hustle and probably triple bolt for the rest of the members of Tempo Storm. All right, back to that last fight, Jake. The biggest thing to note was the barrel usage. It was nice, but man, did it get blown up so fast.
Yeah.
Like, they were like, oh, okay, you're going to put all of your stock into this barrel. You don't really have that narrow of a choke, so that means he has to, like, basically hit a member and then back up and hit a member. He doesn't have, like, this one narrow pathway to just push the rest of the enemy team out and stun multiple people at once.
But ultimately, in the end, they traded out a tank for a tank, because they did get Glaurung for it. I think the reason that fight looked so convincing for Tempo Storm wasn't because of the barrel. I think it was the combination of the grenade hitting the Ravenous Spirit, the second Ravenous Spirit out,
that was well placed.
And the Maw hitting
the
three
Maw. The other thing I want to mention about the Maw is that it allows time for Lili to get effectiveness out of the Jug of 1,000 Cups. Like, if you hit 2 or 3 members, it was basically Illidan in a 1v4. While they weren't necessarily looking to kill Illidan, they healed everyone up to full during that time. So it's like, okay, while it was everyone at half health situation, the Maw goes down. We basically pause the fight for a couple seconds like you would expect to see for a bubble from Zeratul, right. The name is escaping me, Void Prison. And yeah, that gives you a couple seconds to heal up for Lili, and sometimes that's all she needs. She doesn't have the burst heal, but if you buy her a couple seconds of time, she can really add up those numbers.
And it's working. We're seeing it used time and time again on this map, so it's really... It's refreshing to see, like, this new kind of synergy that makes Lili a really cool pick, because we've seen them prioritize Lili 2 games in a row now. I mean, yes, Rhaegar and Uther were banned out, but actually, no, not in this game.
Uther was the only one of the 2 that was banned out, so of course we do see the Rhaegar for Lunatik Esports. All right. Level 20 has been hit. Okay, that was the next point I was about to make. They need to try and stall out to make sure they get the experience lead for this. You can see that Glaurung is the top lane. He's just checking to make sure that Lunatik isn't trying to steal a golem out from underneath Tempo Storm. They are rotating up in that direction, though. Do you think this is a smart play? Are they going to try and rush the core if they confirm this? Glaurung has basically perfect vision of the situation. If they see Lunatik opt to go for this goal, they might just dive the core.
Oh boy. Daihu taking a lot of damage. We see that stage dive not quite on point, but it gets Glaurung into the battle. Remember, Daihu does have that barrel if he needs it, but Dreadrot is forced to use those jugs. The cup's coming out, Ancestral coming out as well. The Ravenous is so far out of the way. Grenade does connect. Quarterback coming into great effectiveness in this game.
And the range that this laser drill has is going to be huge for cleaning up the fight. He needs to retarget it. I think he can still reach some of the members. You'd be surprised how far that reaches in the Maw going down to the hospital to secure this kill. And Glaurung should be able to dash to the other side. Hold it. Yeah. Hold it.
The power of prescience is something to be marveled. But, yeah, I think that's going to be it. There's no Chen. Protege is on the run. We see Tassadar is just hearthing back home. The GGs come out. Tempo Storm is going to take the match 2-0.
2-0. Still very, very well fought for Lunatik Esports. Cool play. Cool counterplay to the Chen. Laser drill. Man, it's just like a fun, action-packed series. I love it.
I just love these new compositions we're starting to see.
Yep.
Teams are starting to pioneer more and more and more. Lili with Maw synergy, like, that's cool.
Yeah,
Laser drill just being a thing in general, that's cool. We used to laugh at it.
We did.
Back in the day.
Anytime we're just playing a quick match, someone takes that laser drill, it's like, oh,
you don't even know what you're doing. What are you doing? But
Come
then
on.
back in that day, Odin was a different beast.
Odin was a different beast, or mechanical beast. Yeti. Mechanical Yeti?
Mechanical Yeti.
Okay.
Four,
Can
five.
we call it the Mechanical Yeti?
Yeah, it's
All
a
right.
Mechanical Yeti now. Very good.
I like it.
Very good. Shake hands on it?
Yes.
It's a deal.
That's a thing.
It's a deal.
All right, cool.
Very good.
That's
Very
a thing now, guys. Mechanical Yeti. All right, so that wraps the series up for Tempo Storm. They take a 2-0 victory, and that puts them in position to put a little bit of pressure on 2ARC. Not so much Barrel Boys, but if 2ARC ends up losing this series, they will drop down to that 3rd seed for the playoff bracket, as Jake so kindly pulls up the standings for you guys to take a look at.
And yeah, I mean, just looking at it, like we said, our next match tonight is Barrel Boys versus 2ARC. Seed 1 and Seed 2 duking it out for the absolute final game for the ESL Major League Americas. And like Kubi mentioned, if 2ARC loses here, Tempo Storm's final placement, it says 4-2 there. It's actually 5-2. 2ARC would be 5-2, in which case Tempo Storm would actually be the 2nd seed.
Da, 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 da. So we still have the potential for some shifting, even though it is in the final day of games. This is actually the last series.
It is.
Of the group stage coming up.
Before playoffs, of course.
Before playoffs, of course. That goes without saying. We're still looking for some real epic games. I can't wait. I can't wait.
On that note, guys, we're going to get ready for our commercial break. We're going to set up the next series for you.
Well, hold up, Jake. You don't know that.
We don't know
you
that.
don't know that.
We don't know
Game
that.
is scheduled to take place at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're going to go check in with our admin and the teams. If they're around to play and they want to start early, we'll get back to you guys. So I think we'll take a 5-minute break. We'll get some information for you guys.
Hopefully, when we come back, though, we'll have.
We might have a game. If not, we'll let you know what the situation is. Probably we'll be coming back at 10 if there's someone who's out. But stick around, guys. We'll be back in 5.